Jasper froze while examining the dog on the grooming table. Paw pad scarring, nose sensitivity, specific behavioral training. 16 years of police K-9 unit experience told him this wasn't a normal pet. These dogs are trained for drug transport, he realized. Before we dive into this incredible story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if this story moves you, make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I have something very special planned for you. Paws Polish dog grooming salon occupied a converted storefront in Denver's Highlands neighborhood, its bright interior and professional equipment creating the kind of welcoming atmosphere that made pet owners trust their beloved animals to Jasper's expert care. At 10:15 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, the salon maintained the calm energy that dogs needed to feel comfortable during grooming sessions. Officer Jasper Valentine had been operating the grooming salon for 3 years, ever since he transitioned from his demanding law enforcement career to seek a quieter life working with animals rather than chasing criminals. At 40, he discovered unexpected satisfaction in providing professional grooming services that kept dogs healthy, comfortable, and looking their best while giving their owners peace of mind about their pets' care. The business had grown steadily through word-of-mouth recommendations from satisfied customers who appreciated both Jasper's gentle approach with nervous animals and his meticulous attention to grooming details. His techniques were professional, his facility was spotless, and his ability to handle dogs with various temperaments had earned him a reputation as one of Denver's most skilled and trustworthy groomers. Jasper served a diverse clientele. Families with beloved pets, show dog owners requiring precise grooming for competitions, elderly residents who needed help maintaining their companions' hygiene, and busy professionals who relied on his services to keep their dogs healthy and well-groomed. His appointment schedule was consistently full, reflecting the trust he built within the local pet community. What customers didn't realize was that Jasper's approach to handling dogs, reading their behavior, and understanding their training backgrounds had been shaped by 16 years as a police K-9 unit officer specializing in drug detection and criminal tracking operations. His ability to recognize specialized training, identify stress patterns in working dogs, and understand the complex relationships between handlers and their animals reflected expertise gained through years of federal law enforcement work. His police background had involved training and working with German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, and Labrador Retrievers that were specially conditioned for detecting narcotics, explosives, and tracking fugitives. Understanding how dogs responded to different types of training, recognizing signs of overwork or abuse, and identifying animals that had been conditioned for specific criminal purposes were skills that had been central to his law enforcement career. During his first 2 years of grooming operations, Jasper had worked with hundreds of dogs without his police training triggering any particular concerns about their backgrounds or treatment. However, during recent months, he'd begun encountering animals that displayed behavioral and physical characteristics that were activating investigative instincts he'd thought were dormant. A series of dogs brought in by different owners were showing signs that Jasper recognized as indicators of specialized training that went far beyond normal pet obedience or even advanced competition work. These animals displayed hypervigilance, specific stress responses, and behavioral conditioning that suggested they had been systematically prepared for activities that typical pet dogs would never encounter. Their reactions to sudden movements, unusual sounds, and environmental changes were unusually precise, reflecting a level of training and habituation that was highly structured and consistent with operational preparation. More concerning were the physical indicators that Jasper's K-9 experience had taught him to recognize as signs of working animals subjected to dangerous or illegal activities. Several dogs showed scarring on their paw pads consistent with rough terrain navigation, nasal sensitivity that suggested repeated exposure to chemical substances, and muscle development patterns that indicated intensive physical conditioning beyond normal exercise routines. Some animals also displayed subtle joint stiffness or overdeveloped forelimbs, pointing to repeated, strenuous activities that would not be typical for pets or even competition dogs. The most alarming discovery came when Jasper began detecting chemical residues in the coats and around the nasal areas of these animals. His 16 years of working with drug detection dogs had trained him to recognize the subtle odors and trace evidence that indicated recent exposure to cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and other controlled substances. The intensity and consistency of the residues suggested regular contact, not accidental or incidental exposure. These weren't drug detection dogs showing residue from legitimate police work. The behavioral patterns, physical condition, and chemical traces suggested animals that were being systematically exposed to illegal drugs as part of criminal operations rather than law enforcement activities. Their stress responses, combined with physical and chemical indicators, pointed to ongoing use in high-risk situations where they were being conditioned to remain compliant despite potentially harmful environments. Jasper's police training had exposed him to cases where criminal organizations used animals to transport drugs across borders, through airports, or into areas where human smuggling would be too risky. The dogs he was grooming showed signs consistent with these trafficking operations, suggesting they were being used as unwilling participants in drug distribution networks. Observing these signs in multiple dogs across different owners reinforced the conclusion that this was not an isolated incident but part of a larger, organized pattern of criminal activity exploiting animals in highly specialized ways. Jasper began documenting the characteristics he was observing while maintaining his professional grooming services, applying analytical skills that had been central to his police work but adapting them to civilian circumstances that required careful discretion to avoid alerting potential criminals to law enforcement interest. The dogs showing concerning signs weren't random animals, they were being brought in by owners who shared certain characteristics that Jasper's law enforcement background had taught him to recognize as potential indicators of criminal activity. These individuals paid only in cash, avoided providing detailed contact information, and showed nervous behavior around any mention of veterinary records or previous grooming history. More significantly, the animals were showing signs of systematic training that Jasper recognized from his K-9 unit experience as methods used to condition dogs for carrying concealed items. These techniques included desensitization to having objects attached to their bodies, conditioning to remain calm during inspection procedures, and behavioral modification that suppressed normal protective instincts that might interfere with criminal operations. The physical evidence was becoming undeniable. Multiple dogs were showing chemical residue patterns consistent with repeated exposure to illegal drugs, scarring that suggested they were being used to transport items through dangerous or confined spaces, and behavioral conditioning that indicated systematic criminal training rather than legitimate working dog preparation. Jasper's police experience had taught him that criminal organizations often used animals because they were less likely to be searched by authorities, could access areas that humans couldn't reach, and provided emotional cover that made criminal activities appear innocent to casual observers. The geographic pattern of where these animals were coming from also suggested organized criminal activity rather than isolated incidents. The owners were traveling from different areas of the city but showing similar behavioral patterns and bringing animals with consistent signs of criminal conditioning. Jasper realized he was encountering evidence of systematic animal abuse and drug trafficking operations that required immediate law enforcement intervention. His 16 years of police experience had taught him both the legal obligations and proper procedures for reporting suspected criminal activity while ensuring animal welfare and maintaining operational security. His first concern was the welfare of the animals who appeared to be victims of criminal exploitation. Dogs being used for drug trafficking were often subjected to dangerous conditions, chemical exposure, and systematic abuse that could cause permanent physical and psychological damage while putting their lives at risk. This is Officer Jasper Valentine, retired badge number 2847, he said when connected to the DEA tip line. I have evidence of systematic animal abuse and drug trafficking operations at my dog grooming facility in Denver. Multiple animals showing drug exposure, criminal training patterns, organized network indicators. The response from federal authorities was immediate and comprehensive. DEA Special Agent Lisa Rodriguez coordinated with Jasper within hours, recognizing both the significance of his observations and the unique expertise he could provide for understanding the criminal use of animals in drug trafficking operations. Jasper, your K-9 background makes you invaluable for this investigation, Agent Rodriguez explained during their secure briefing. We need someone with your expertise who has direct access to the animals and can help us understand how this trafficking network operates while ensuring the dog's safety and recovery. Working with active federal agents, Jasper helped analyze what appeared to be a sophisticated drug trafficking operation that was systematically exploiting animals to transport illegal substances while avoiding the kind of detection that human trafficking methods might trigger. Your observations suggest this network has been operating for several years, Agent Rodriguez told Jasper during their case planning. The level of animal conditioning and the systematic nature of the chemical exposure indicates this is a major criminal enterprise generating substantial illegal profits. Jasper found himself operating his grooming salon while simultaneously serving as an undercover asset for federal authorities investigating the animal-based drug trafficking network. His legitimate business provided perfect cover for documenting criminal evidence while his K-9 expertise enabled him to gather intelligence that untrained investigators might miss. your position gives us unprecedented access to the trafficking operation and the abused animals, Agent Rodriguez explained. We need someone who can assess the dog's conditions, document the evidence of criminal training, and help us build cases that will both prosecute the criminals and ensure proper care for the animal victims. The intelligence gathering phase required Jasper to carefully balance routine grooming services with systematic documentation of animal abuse and trafficking evidence, all while building detailed profiles of the criminal network's operational methods. His extensive police training enabled him to recognize organizational patterns, identify key indicators of illicit activity, and gather crucial evidence discreetly, without alerting the criminals to any federal law enforcement interest or compromising ongoing investigations. Jasper's analysis revealed that the Denver animal trafficking operation was more extensive than initially suspected. The criminal organization had established relationships with multiple animal suppliers, developed sophisticated training protocols for conditioning dogs to carry drugs, and implemented distribution networks that moved both animals and narcotics across several states. They're processing approximately 20 dogs per month through various criminal operations, Jasper reported to the investigation team. Each animal represents potential trafficking of substantial drug quantities, with the organization generating millions annually while systematically abusing animals who have no choice in their exploitation. His K-9 expertise proved invaluable for understanding how the criminals had adapted legitimate working dog training methods for illegal purposes, while his grooming access provided crucial evidence about the scope and methods of the trafficking network that traditional surveillance might never uncover. The federal investigation culminated with simultaneous operations across multiple locations, including animal training facilities, drug processing centers, and distribution points that had been identified through Jasper's intelligence gathering and subsequent DEA analysis. The coordinated raids represented one of the largest animal trafficking investigations in federal law enforcement history. Outstanding work, Agent Rodriguez told Jasper as the rescue operations unfolded. Your expertise and access enabled us to understand this network in ways that would have been impossible without someone who could recognize the specialized animal training and trafficking evidence. The operations resulted in the rescue of 47 dogs that had been systematically abused for drug trafficking purposes, the arrest of 23 individuals involved in the criminal network, and the seizure of over $5 million in drugs, criminal assets, and illegal animal training facilities. The rescued animals were immediately transferred to specialized veterinary facilities that could address both their physical injuries and the psychological trauma resulting from systematic criminal exploitation. Jasper's expertise proved crucial for developing rehabilitation protocols that could help the dogs recover from their trafficking experiences. Your recognition of the animal trafficking patterns probably saved these dogs from permanent physical and psychological damage, Agent Rodriguez explained during case closure. Without early identification and professional intervention, criminal organizations typically continue exploiting animals until they're no longer useful, at which point they're often abandoned or killed. The case received national attention as an example of successful animal trafficking investigation, but Jasper declined most interview requests. The groomer who'd recognized systematic animal abuse preferred to focus on the rescued dog's recovery and the ongoing need for animal trafficking awareness in professional pet care settings. Jasper returned to legitimate grooming operations with new appreciation for how his police background continued to serve animal protection in unexpected ways. His salon had become a safe haven where rescued trafficking victims could receive proper care while recovering from their criminal exploitation experiences. 6 months later, Jasper had consulted on 4 additional suspected animal trafficking cases, helped train other groomers and veterinarians in recognizing abuse indicators, and had become a regional resource for animal trafficking investigation and victim recovery services. People think dog grooming is just about making pets look good, Jasper explained to a conference of animal care professionals. But we're also positioned to recognize when animals are being systematically abused for criminal purposes, and we have professional obligations to protect them. His facility had become a model for animal trafficking awareness, demonstrating how proper observation of animal behavior and physical condition could protect vulnerable animals while supporting law enforcement efforts to prosecute criminal organizations that exploit animals for illegal profit. 2 years after the original investigation, Jasper had helped identify and rescue 31 additional animal trafficking victims while continuing his grooming practice. His K-9 expertise, combined with his legitimate access to animals brought by various owners, made him valuable for detecting and disrupting organized criminal activities. His secure phone buzzed with a message from Agent Rodriguez, suspected animal trafficking network in Phoenix. Similar training patterns to your Denver case. Could use your expertise on animal condition assessment and trafficking identification. Jasper looked at his grooming equipment, then at the peaceful salon where rescued dogs were learning to trust humans again. I'll review the case files after closing today, he texted back. Some careers never completely end, they just find new applications and new ways to serve justice and protection. Jasper Valentine, former police K-9 officer, current guardian of animal welfare and trafficking prevention, continued his work one grooming session at a time, one rescued animal at a time, proving that the most important investigations often begin when someone knows how to recognize systematic abuse disguised as ordinary business interactions. Sometimes the most crucial animal trafficking cases are discovered in routine grooming appointments, by people who understand the difference between normal pet behavior and systematic criminal conditioning designed to exploit innocent animals for illegal profit. Have you ever noticed animals that seem to be showing signs of unusual training or treatment that concerned you? Share your observations in the comments below, and tell us what city you're watching from today. If this story of hidden law enforcement expertise and animal protection inspired you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Don't miss the compelling stories appearing on your screen right now. Click to discover more tales of everyday heroes who use their backgrounds to protect vulnerable victims in unexpected ways, because sometimes the most important rescue operations begin when someone knows how to recognize systematic exploitation disguised as routine pet care.
See you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.